What was your mindset in starting the podcast? Like how did that even come about, you know?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I've spent the majority of my life as an introvert. And as I started growing and learning more about leadership development and business, I wanted to share the lessons that I had learned. So ultimately, there's two reasons that I started the podcast. One, I had this desire to share the lessons that I was learning along the way. Second, or more important, is I had to figure out how to overcome my fear of public speaking, my fear of talking to strangers that I had never met. And so I was having a conversation with a friend at the gym who had a podcast. And I was talking through this with him, and he's like, yeah, why don't you start a podcast and a YouTube channel? And in the moment, I was like, oh, whoa, oh, no, why would I do that? And he just kind of looked at me. I was like, okay, all right. So I thought about it, started doing some research, started analyzing. I'm a techie by nature, and I have had a tendency to suffer from analysis paralysis, where I just overanalyze. So a month goes by. I see him at the gym. All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start a podcast, going to drop an episode every 2 weeks. Like, I was so proud of myself. And he looked at me and said, really? You're going to change the world with one episode every 2 weeks? Fine. I'll do it every week, and then create clips and reels and stuff like that daily off of it. And man, I leave the episodes up from 3.5 years ago. If you go back and sort by oldest, and you could see, oh man, dude, they were brutal. The notes and my microphone set up here, so the camera was right here, and I would just legitimately read my notes. I didn't even have bullets as talking points. I would just read my notes. Like, it was horrible. So this is another example of how 3.5 years of having the podcast and YouTube channel was doing more work on me than I was doing work on the podcast. It has turned me into a better conversationalist. I can now go to conferences and speak on stages, and it just flows naturally. And
So you're wondering the value in being a podcast guest. Think about it. You want to build your personal brand. Is it important as ever? And coming on this show allows you to do just that. You're able to leverage our audience, but not only that, you're able to leverage the content from this podcast. As you clock up the hours someone spends with you, the longer time someone spends listening to your story, your solutions in the marketplace allows you to do something special. It allows you to build a community and build a brand. You can leverage the community here, but you can also leverage the content from this show to be able to use where? On LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where you're going to shine. LinkedIn is where you're going to generate leads. So whoever you are, you want to come and tell your story. You want to be able to come in and be a guest that allows you to build your brand. Link in the description, we'll get in touch. So join our waiting list to feature on the Rubasha Family Podcast.
Because I've had so many guests on as interviews, I've been able to figure out how to extract relevant information out of them. Because as you are well aware, some people, they're like a locked vault. You ask them a question, yes. Oh, okay, well, how about this? Oh, no. Oh, all right. Some people don't want to open up at all, and then others just simply won't shut up. So you have to learn how to command the conversation to drive it in a meaningful way. And on a podcast, this is you and I having a conversation, hopefully to educate the audience. But when you're at a networking event, being intentional about where do I want this conversation to go? And quickly developing skills around where does this person fall? Potential partner or referral person that we can just kind of network with and share customers back and forth? Or is this the potential employee in the future? And once you learn how to size people up, then you can start driving the conversation in a meaningful direction that is mutually beneficial. I don't know if that answered the question. Sometimes I go down rabbit holes.
No. I love that. I love that. It's because it's like I just relate to it so much. And even just to add on that, like when like being a podcast host, and I started with my parents, right? Like when I started, it was, oh wow, like you're not just mom and dad, like you're a human being, like you guys are human, you know what I mean? Like literally, like I sat on it changed, the podcast changed my life, because I'm sitting with mom and dad and I'm just like, mom cried once, like, and I was just being curious, but I was developing this skill of being present and listening, letting people talk. And I didn't know what I was doing. So like you said, now when I'm out in public, every conversation is like a podcast for me. And all the things that you just said there, you're able to match up. You're able to see, where is this conversation going? You're able to listen. And that's why for me, I literally just document everything, kind of like Gary Vee. I have the camera going everywhere. I tell the person, hey, because like it's so powerful, and these skills are so transferable, like you said.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.